You have been lied to, not once, not twice, but every time he looked you in the eyes and said, "I am fine." Every time he claimed he did not care. Every time he walked away as if your absence meant nothing. Those were not truths. They were shields. Men do not lie to deceive you. They lie to protect something far older, far darker than their love. They lie to protect their pride, because for a man pride is not emotion. It is survival, and everything they do, from silence to anger to control, is built upon that fragile illusion of power. But what happens when the illusion begins to crack? When you see through the armor, that is where the real story begins. Philosophy has always known what modern love refuses to admit. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world." And that is the first lie. Men believe their pride defines the world, that their control, their success, their silence is what keeps order intact. They call it confidence. But it is often fear wearing a crown. You have seen it. The man who cannot say, "I was wrong." The man who flinches at your strength. The man who desires you, but resents the power you hold over his emotions. Carl Jung would say that these men are ruled by their shadow, the hidden part of the psyche that houses shame, insecurity, and hunger. The more he denies it, the darker it grows. And when pride begins to rot, it does not vanish. It projects. He blames you. He tells himself you are the reason he feels small, that your independence emasculates him, that your expectations are too high. But deep inside, he is not angry at you. He is terrified of himself, because to a man who has built his identity on control, vulnerability feels like death. And so he chooses the lie. Have you ever wondered why men ghost without explanation? Why they pull away right after you open your heart? Why they say, "I just need space," when what they really need is power? Because in the masculine mind, affection is currency, and control is the economy. Since childhood, most men are not taught to feel. They are taught to win. They are rewarded for dominance, punished for sensitivity. A boy cries and the world mocks him. He learns that emotion equals weakness, and so he learns to lie, not to others but to himself. He grows into a man who says, "I do not care," but what he means is, "I care too much, and I do not know how to survive it." Biology deepens the lie. Evolution wired men for competition, not compassion. For centuries, survival meant proving strength, not vulnerability. Even now, in this modern age of screens and swipes, that primitive instinct still whispers, "Do not show weakness. Do not lose control." So he hides behind ambition, behind arrogance, behind the mask of detachment. He becomes emotionally unavailable, not because he feels nothing, but because feeling everything would shatter the image he depends on to exist. And when a man's pride becomes his only identity, truth becomes his greatest threat. That is why he lies when he says he moved on. That is why he mocks emotional depth. That is why he pretends you were just another girl. Because the second he admits what you meant, his kingdom of illusions falls apart. And you were left believing it was your fault. You questioned yourself. You replayed every conversation, every silence. You tried to decode what you did wrong, when in truth you were witnessing a man at war with his own shadow. You loved him in the language of honesty, but he only knew the dialect of pride. You reached for intimacy. He reached for defense. You offered understanding. He offered withdrawal. And when you tried to heal him, he mistook your empathy for control. You were never too much. He was simply too fragile to face himself. Nietzsche once said, "The man who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." That is the paradox. Even in his self-loathing, he finds power. Because to admit weakness, to admit love, is to risk collapse. So instead he crafts a new story, one where you are the problem, one where he was the victim, one where nothing was his fault. He does not tell these stories to you, he tells them to himself, because if he can rewrite reality, he never has to face his own reflection. But what comes next is even darker. Here is the truth most people will never say out loud. Men do not only lie to protect their pride from you, they lie to protect it from each other. Among men, weakness is social death. They compete not just for women, but for validation in the hierarchy of other men. Every boast, every cold silence, every display of dominance is theater. A performance to maintain rank in a silent battlefield that never ends. He lies about how many people he has loved. He lies about how much pain he carries. He lies about what truly broke him, because in that world, empathy is humiliation. So when he lies to you, he is not just hiding his emotions. He is hiding from the ghost of every man who ever mocked him. That is why he acts stronger than he is. That is why he needs to feel desired, even when he feels nothing. That is why he fears rejection more than death, because behind all his pride lies a terrified child still begging to be seen, without losing respect. And the most haunting part, he no longer knows the difference between truth and performance, but awareness changes everything. Once you see the pattern, you stop taking the lies personally. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to heal. You begin to understand that pride is a man's armor, and that armor is heavy. The more he hides behind it, the more it crushes him from within. And while his lies may wound you, they imprison him. That is why your power was never in making him confess. It was in seeing through him. You are not cold for walking away. You are not heartless for choosing peace. You are not cruel for refusing to carry a man's unhealed pride, because truth is not cruelty. It is liberation. Every woman who sees through illusion becomes a mirror, and mirrors terrify men who live in denial. The moment you stop accepting half-love, you stop existing in his story of power and control. You begin to write your own, and that is when the lies lose their grip. When he says you've changed, he means, you are no longer small enough for my pride to survive beside you. When he says, you think you're better than me, he means, you see me more clearly than I can bear. Do not hate him for his weakness. Understand it, then move beyond it, because once you have seen the dark truth and you can never be blinded again. In the end, every lie a man tells is a confession in disguise. As Kierkegaard wrote, the proud man is always looking down on things and people. And of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see what is above you. So let him look down. Let him guard his pride like a dying kingdom. You will walk away unmasked, awake and untamed, because now you know the dark truth. Men lie not to deceive you, but to protect the illusion that keeps them from breaking. And once you see the illusion for what it is, it can never control you again.